Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about surrendering. When is it time to type /FF into the chat box and get out of a game? Because oftentimes I see a lot of players want to give up too early, and sometimes players actually want to give up too late. So it takes a little bit of understanding and actually looking at what's going on in the game, what your status in the game is as a team, and kind of guessing from here where the situation is at. And now that all sounds kind of very vague, but let's give you an example. Unfortunately, I don't have the game replay. It was on the last patch. I played it like right before the patch went through, so I didn't have an opportunity to save it. But on the last patch, there was a game where I was playing Shen. We had a Riven mid, and this Riven mid was into Heimerdinger, and this Heimerdinger was destroying her. The Riven either didn't know how to play against a Heimerdinger, or Heimerdinger was very good. Either way, Riven was dying a lot. Our jungler wasn't doing very good. I was kind of holding my own in the top lane, but I wasn't doing exceptionally well, and the Riven starts trying to call for an FF. She's not having a good time. She's being absolutely destroyed. She even switches and goes top and dies with the Jax twice. The Jax had worked so hard to kind of keep under the weather, and she wants out of the game. And because of her complaining, I'm feeling like, well, maybe this is a game we should surrender. So I open the scoreboard, and I realize our Jhin is 8-0. Now, at this point, I'm thinking, I'm playing Shen, we have our Rakan support, and Jhin is very, very fed. All we have to do is keep Jhin alive, and we still have a way to win the game, regardless of the fact that our Riven is super underfed, because we do have a win condition we can play to the Jhin. So, in this situation, the Riven wants out because she's only looking at her own performance. She's saying, I'm feeding, I'm not doing well, I tried lane swapping, it didn't work, we can't win this game. But the Riven wasn't looking at the rest of the map. The Shen was doing okay, our jungler was doing okay, and the Jhin was really doing well. So at that situation, the Riven should have been saying, yeah, okay, I'm not doing well personally, but the Shen is doing okay, and our Jhin is doing very well. He can still carry the game, and then playing towards the Jhin, as opposed to saying, well, I'm not doing well, so therefore we have no chance of winning the game. That's a very self-centered approach to the game, and it's not really what you want to be looking at when you're playing League of Legends, because your own performance doesn't matter sometimes. I've seen tanks that do nothing but die in a game, but as long as they're dying for a cause and dying well, they're still getting value out of their abilities in fights, and they're keeping their carries alive or starting a fight off on the right foot. So the Darius that gets the flash pull and dies instantly might have still done a good thing for his team because he got the flash pull. So even though he wasn't the one killing everybody, he still set the fight up so that his team could win. So it doesn't make any sense then for the Darius to look at his score and say, wow, I'm 0-5, FF. That doesn't make any sense. So the key thing here I'm making is that you need to be looking at the whole team and not just your own performance. Now, if you are doing badly and you look at the rest of your team and everyone else is doing badly, well then maybe it's time to look for surrender. At the same time though, you need to be looking at what point in the game are we at. So if we have a Karthus mid, a Vayne bottom lane, and let's say a Jax top, and everyone is doing poorly, give it time. Because these champions will all scale very, very well into the late game and will only get stronger as things go on. So if these champions can accelerate and farm up and become strong, you still have a chance of winning the game. Now, a lot of this is dependent on your structural framework. How many towers do we have? How far down in gold are we? Do they have a late game comp as well? If the enemy team is entirely early game, if they're playing, let's say, Renekton, Corki, Lucian, for example, then it probably is okay to try and scale late. We should be getting bullied early. However, if they're playing a late game comp, well, if they're ahead already, maybe we don't want to scale this up to late. And at the same time, how is our structures looking? If we've already given up an inhibitor at 20 minutes, we might not be coming back into this one because we're already dealing with super minions. We're going to lose a lot of map pressure. We probably can't contest objectives. So you do need to be looking at that. However, if you still at least have your inhibitor towers left, a comeback is almost always a possibility. The inhibitor towers are the hardest towers to breach for the enemy team to breach. So if you have them, you can almost always stage a defense. It's difficult for the enemy team to even press in on them because most of the time enemy teams won't bother grouping up if they're ahead. They will still split push and do a lot of really dumb decisions because they think they're super far ahead, and that gives you an opportunity to close on them, gank them, kill them, defend your towers, and scale late. And once you scale late, well, if you have a late game comp, you're going to be doing great. At the same time, If you're an early game composition and you're not doing well early, and they have a better late or a better mid, you might be looking at a surrender here. And now I'm saying surrender here not as a good thing and not as a bad thing. Obviously, there's some players who will never surrender a game. Doesn't matter if they're 0-20, they will never surrender a game. And there are some players that almost always want to surrender a game the second First Blood happens against their team. They just don't, they think it's not worth playing out. However, I will say that there is some benefit to getting out of a losing game early. If you are starting to tilt, if you feel if you're not doing well and you're starting to tilt and you look at the score and it's just not going in your team's favor, it might be worth it to FF just to preserve your own mental state to make sure that you can go into your next game prepared for the game as opposed to getting tilted off the face of the planet. It also might be a good idea to surrender if you just don't think there's a way to come back. If the enemy team has a 5-0 Caitlyn and a 5-0 Karthus and a 5-0 Gragas, well, you know, maybe it's just not worth it to play it out because these guys are very, very far ahead, especially if you don't have any late game options. So I don't say this necessarily as a way to say, oh, well, I'm justified in my surrender, but more to give you tools to figure out when it's a good idea to throw up the surrender vote or when it's a good idea to vote yes on a surrender, because it does happen. We all have bad games. That's why surrender votes exist. They're not there so you can just completely bail out in a game because you dislike your teammates and you just want to take a loss. They're there so you can get out of a game early, preserve your mental state, and go into the next one prepared. Let me know what you guys think of this down in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts on just surrendering in general, but especially on when you guys generally tend to throw up the surrender vote. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave a like. It really do appreciate it and helps me in what I do. And if you really enjoy the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.